R. Sugaraj Samuel. He is working as a professor in physics at New College, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE and BIT SAT. He has more than 16 years experience in both teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals, which is prescribed for the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has presented papers in several national and international conferences and has also conducted many training programs and workshops to motivate energetic students. His research areas are ultrasonic, polymers, crystal growth and photovoltaic systems. He is experienced in both regular classroom teaching and online teaching as well.
Welcome to UGC lecture series on oscillations and waves. In this lecture, we are going to see the concepts related to damping in oscillations. Before we start this lecture, let us see the outline of today's lecture. This is going to be the outline. The session title is Damping in Oscillations, under which we are going to see the concepts related to free oscillations, then damped oscillations. Under damped oscillations, we are going to see the subconcepts like logarithmic decrement and critical damping. Let us start with the word damping. What is called damping? Damping is the opposition caused for the oscillation. When we say it is a free oscillation, there will be only one restoring force which is proportional to the displacement and opposite to the direction of displacement. So, if that restoring force alone is existing in a oscillating system, then that system is said to be executing free oscillation. That oscillation will continue forever in principle. Theoretically, it should continue forever. We are familiar with the energy aspects of oscillation. The energy is existing in two forms, namely the potential energy and the kinetic energy. When a body is oscillating, the energy is also varying between the kinetic form and potential form continuously. In the mean position, the energy is fully in the form of kinetic energy. Potential energy is 0 because it is in the undeformed condition. At the extreme positions, the potential energy seem to be maximum and the kinetic energy seem to be minimum. It is almost 0 because at the extreme positions, the oscillating object will come to momentary rest. So, the energy is said to be varying between kinetic and potential forms successively. The rate at which the variation is happening between kinetic and potential is twice the value of frequency. If the oscillation is happening at a particular frequency, the change in energy will happen, either potential or kinetic will happen twice its frequency. We are familiar with these terms. This kind of oscillation is called free oscillation. Why the word free is used? Because it is free from any other force. There is only one force, that is the restoring force. Now, what is damped oscillation? So, we are in a position to explain or know what is the word damping means. So, let us see the definition pertaining to damping. What is damping? The decrease in the amplitude in the due course of oscillation is called damping. So, this is the very short and crisp definition for damping. How the damping is identified, whether the oscillation is a free oscillation or damped oscillation, how it is identified? We will have to notice the amplitude. If the amplitude of oscillation remains constant, then it is said to be a free oscillation. There is no decrease in energy, the total energy, the kinetic and potential energy put together will not decrease in the free oscillation. So, that oscillation will have the same amplitude, and if we notice a decrease in the amplitude, then we can come to a conclusion that the oscillation is a damped oscillation. When we have the same amplitude throughout in the due course, there is no change in amplitude, there are two possibilities. One is it is a free oscillation, or it has to be a sustained or forced oscillation, some energy is supplied to it. We will be learning about all this in the due course, but let us now have only these two oscillations in mind. One is a free oscillation, the other one is a damped oscillation. Free oscillation is the oscillation in which there is no decrease in total energy. The energy is constant, it is varying only between the kinetic and potential. And in the case of damped oscillation, the amplitude is decreasing gradually. And how the amplitude is varying? It is governed by various factors. We have several types of damping, we are going to see them one by one. Let us take for example certain easy concepts which could be explained and understood at ease, and then we can build on the concept of damping. Even the complicated damping concepts we will be able to take into account. Now, we have to understand what causes the damping. When we say the amplitude keeps on decreasing, the cause for damping we need to explain. Mainly it is due to air resistance and also due to friction at the point of contact or the point of suspension. These are the major factors causing damping. When you say a body is suspended and it is oscillating, it is not oscillating in free space. The surrounding medium is there, it is oscillating in air medium. The air medium will cause damping, it will oppose the oscillation that is happening, because the air molecules are around and the oscillating body has to move in air. So, this causes the major part for damping. The second one is at the point of contact or at the point of suspension. Here it is suspended from a point, and at that point there could be a hook or a loop, some sort of contact is there. So, there is a possibility for mechanical movement at the point of suspension. Obviously, the necessary evil friction also will exist at that point. So, the friction will oppose the relative motion between two surfaces. So, that is also one of the reasons for damping. That is actually an external reason for the cause of damping. The major cause is due to air resistance. When we say air resistance, does air oppose any movement? Definitely yes. Even when we travel by vehicle, by walk, we could feel the air opposing our movement. When we take a piece of paper or a foil and move it in free space, the air foil or the paper is bending against the direction of movement, that is due to the air molecules striking on the foil, that we could easily notice. So, if that being the case, even when an oscillating object is oscillating in air medium, definitely the air molecules will oppose the movement or the oscillation, either to and fro, both the motions will be opposed by the air molecule. So, that causes damping in the oscillating object. So, that has to be accounted for. So, let us take for example the damped motion caused by the air resistance, air molecules, or it is called simply air resistance. So, let us see the concept of damping due to air resistance. Let us see further. This is the effect of damping. The damping force is a function of speed of the moving system and is directed opposite to the velocity. Example for the above is viscous force. I have given the expression for viscous force. This is actually the viscous force experienced by a spherical object when it is moving in a highly viscous liquid. Are you able to recognize what equation is this? Because here the force suffix V, it is viscous force, and here we have a minus sign, it has a meaning, and here we have a velocity, it is 6 pi eta AV, 6 pi eta, pi is a constant, 6 is a constant, eta is the viscosity, coefficient of viscosity, A is the radius and V is the velocity. Velocity is the vector quantity, this force is a vector quantity, this minus sign has a meaning. It says, the minus sign says the force and the velocity are opposite to each other. What is the name we give by which this force is called? It is actually Stokes formula. This we learn in viscosity. Because of this viscous force, energy is lost due to the negative work done by the damping force, and because of that the system comes to a halt in the due course. This is an example. The Stokes formula says the viscous force causes a damping motion, or it opposes the relative motion of the object in a highly viscous medium, and which is proportional to the velocity. That equation helps us to understand it is proportional to velocity, the force is proportional to the velocity. So, for that purpose I have taken this Stokes formula for our understanding. So, the damping force or the viscous force is proportional to velocity. So, we are going to handle the damping which is caused by the viscous nature of air, which is indeed proportional to the velocity, because velocity is having a direction, it is a vector quantity, and the damping force caused by the viscous medium is opposite to the velocity, and it is proportional to the magnitude of velocity. Direction wise it is opposite. So, that is what we would like to highlight from this Stokes formula. The same concept is applicable for air also, because air is also opposing the oscillatory motion. That viscous force or the damping force, or we can call that as the resisting force, is also proportional to velocity. So, we will have to introduce a proportionality constant and develop the concepts further. So, let us see how we do so. The damping force may be a complicated function of speed. It depends on several factors. In several cases of practical interest, the damping force is proportional to the speed. Here the speed is denoted as v, velocity, and Fd, the suffix d says it is a damping force, is proportional to v, and we have introduced a proportionality constant here b. This b is a proportionality constant which is indeed called as the damping constant. So, we have developed an equation which governs the damping force. F d is the damping force, is equal to minus b v. The b is the damping constant and v is of course the speed or velocity, whatever way we can call it, because here the direction is taken care of by the minus sign, and this force is directly proportional to the magnitude of velocity, which is called speed, and opposite to the direction. So, the minus sign takes care of it. Now, on a body which is executing oscillation with the damping included in it, how many forces will be acting? The two forces, of course. One is responsible for the oscillation to continue, the other one is the factor that reduces the amplitude continuously, which is called the damping force. So, the two forces are coexisting in the case of damped oscillation. One is responsible for the oscillation, the other one is responsible for the damping. So, let us club them together, because both the oscillatory nature and the damping nature are found in the body which is executing damped oscillation, we will have to develop the mathematical concepts further. Let us see how it is done. And as I said, the equation has to include the term which is responsible for oscillatory motion, the term that is responsible for the damping motion. This is the main equation. F has the two terms. We of course know, now we are familiar with the term Kx. K is the spring constant and x is the displacement. So, this is oscillatory in nature, which is highlighted by the green circle. And where is the damping? If we have only the free oscillation, these two terms will exist. This minus BV will not be there. It will represent the free oscillation, but because it is a damped oscillation, we will have to account for that now, which is highlighted by the red circle. Okay. So, this is the typical equation governing the damped oscillation. We have taken the damping constant as B here. Both are negative in sign. Of course, they have their own meaning. X is a vector, V is a vector. This force is opposite to both. Now, the concepts are done further. We have to further include or develop the main equation which we have just now seen, so that we could find a meaningful solution for the equation. We have replaced this force with ma. A is the acceleration of the oscillating object and m is the mass of the object or the body, and we have written this equation. Now, we can further introduce the terms. Acceleration can be written as dv by dt, and once again velocity also can be written as dx by dt, and acceleration can further be written as d square x by dt square, because it is a second order differentiation of position, and these steps are self explanatory. After this, we rearrange the terms and we arrive at this main equation, which has got a second order differential term in x, first order differential term in x, and of course x, which is equal to 0. This is in the standard second order differential equation. We have brought it to a standard form like this. So, this is a second order differential equation. By considering the term responsible for oscillation and also the term responsible for damping, we have arrived at a second order differential equation. Hereafter, it is only pure mathematics. We have to solve the second order differential equation for x, because it is the second order differential equation in x. So, the solution should have x is equal to something. So, we have to solve this second order differential equation and arrive at the solution and then give explanation for the solution. It will take lot of time for solving the second order differential equation. Leaving alone the mathematical part, we can directly take the result of or the solution of the second order differential equation. That is what we are going to do. We are not typically going to solve it, but we will take up the solution and analyze the solution to see the physics behind that. For this second order differential equation, this is the previous equation we had. Solution is of the form, the solution is not discussed, and we arrive at this kind of solution: a naught e power a term minus bt by 2m, which is in the raised to the power of exponent, and sin omega dash t plus b. So, this is the solution we arrive at. What are the terms unknown here? Of course, b is known, b is the damping constant, time we know, m is mass of the body, again b comes here, t is time, and omega dash is a new quantity, and a naught is the initial amplitude, the first amplitude what it has, and this could be further simplified and written in this way: this a naught e power minus bt by 2m could be written as simply a term a. This a is a varying quantity, that we should keep in mind, because this for this whole term we have written a, and we have arrived at a oscillatory very simple term which is very familiar to us. So, what is the conclusion? We are having an equation with a varying amplitude, a naught e power minus bt by 2m, it is varying amplitude, and of course there is an oscillatory term sin omega t plus b. This is what we have. Let us see further what we have. This omega dash is this term actually. If we typically write what is omega dash, because the mathematical part is not fully done, we have taken only the results. So, this is the expression for omega dash. This omega dash has this omega naught, this k by m is nothing but omega naught square. These are all very familiar terms, we are used to it. The spring mass system in which we have come across this k by m is omega naught square and b by 2m square is also existing. For a small b, what is the meaning of this small b? I need to explain. When the damping is very less, it is not that high, when a small damping is there, that means the damping force is not dominating, it is allowing the oscillation to happen and it is slightly damped, the air resistance is there and it is mild, it is not totally arresting the oscillation, it is mild enough to allow the few oscillations to happen. So, that being the case, we can neglect this b and say this omega dash is nothing but omega naught, and which is the square of k divided by m, which is a very familiar term, we have come across this in the case of spring mass system. So, what is the conclusion? By assuming the b is a small value, there is a mild damping, but for the sake of explanation we can make it a 0 and the oscillation is happening at the regular frequency of square root of k by m, that is the free oscillation. So, the oscillation is allowed to happen, and what is the role of the damping force now? So, let us analyze the concept of amplitude, because originally when we said what is damping, the decrease in the amplitude when it is noticed, then it is said to be a damped oscillation. But in the mathematical steps we come across a term omega dash. The omega dash includes the damping constant b, but we have assumed the effect of damping is very mild, that allows the oscillations to happen. We are giving importance to the decrement that is happening or the decrease that is happening in the amplitude. So, let us give importance to that. Thus, the system oscillates with almost the natural frequency of the oscillating system, but look at the amplitude decreases with time according to this equation. See, the a is the term we have written, it is a naught e power minus bt by 2m. Here I would like to say, what is this a naught? A naught is the amplitude of the free oscillation. With that amplitude only the oscillation will start. In the very first there will be damping, but it is having its full amplitude, that amplitude is the amplitude of the free oscillation itself, and after that the e power minus bt by 2m, actually the e power minus x is a exponentially decreasing function, e power minus x. In the case of e power minus bt by 2m, the bt by 2m is one factor, it is decreasing the amplitude, it is damping, it is reducing exponentially the amplitude of oscillation. So, let us see how the amplitude will decrease. Have a look at the diagram. If the oscillation is starting from the mean position, it goes to a maximum amplitude, this itself is a damped amplitude only, and the oscillation is happening at a particular frequency. We said just now the frequency is at its natural frequency, there is no much difference in the frequency happening, but look at the amplitude is decreasing exponentially, it is falling, it is reducing as the oscillation continues. At one point the oscillation ceases. So, this is the effect of the exponential decreasing term, this is called the logarithmic damping, because e power minus is exponentially decreasing term, we call this as a logarithmic decrement, the minus bt by 2m, that is the decrement part, and here it is further explained. Because the amplitude of the oscillation is decreasing as per the logarithmic decrement, It is also called the logarithmic damping, which is governed by this equation. The minus sign is very important. Here there is a minus sign, and look at this damping, how it is done. See, there is an envelope. The envelope is exponentially decreasing envelope. The time period, if you take, it will not much vary, because that is how we have developed the concept, and the amplitude is governed by this envelope. The envelope is nothing but e power minus x. So, it is called the logarithmic damping. We have lots of complicated damping also, but this is an easy term, easy concept for understanding, but there is a damping possible by the logarithmic way. We will see one or two special cases of damping also. Let us see what it is. These are some of the types of damping. It is just mentioned. See, in the x axis we have the displacement, y axis we have the time. There is a strong damping, and then critical damping, and undamped oscillation is also there. Underdamped, like that there are several terminologies. We have each terminology is represented here as a function. And what is called the critical damping? There is a term and it is shown here as the critical damping. Let us see what is critical damping. If the damping is not allowing the oscillation to continue, it is not allowing the oscillating body to cross the mean position, then it is called critical damping. Let us see the definition. If the damping is large, the system may not oscillate at all. If displaced, it will move toward the mean position and stay there without overshooting to the other side. The damping for which the oscillation just ceases without even crossing the mean position even once is called critical damping. Let us see how the critical damping is going to happen. Listen here. If this is the mean position for a simple pendulum and we allow from the extreme position and it has to come and cross the mean position and go that side, but it will not go, it will come and stop here itself, because throughout the movement the opposition is offered by the medium and it has not even crossed the mean position. So, such a damping is called critical damping. It will stop at the mean position, it will not go, it will not overshoot beyond the mean position, it will not go to the other side. Such a damping is called critical damping. This kind of damping is used in some measuring instruments where we do not want the overshooting to happen. So, this concept will help us to understand how to damp, how to arrest the movement at one point itself. So, this is the concept of critical damping, that means that the damping force is very strong. So, we have learnt some of the special cases of damping also. So, let us come to the summary. In this session, we have seen the concepts of free oscillations, damped oscillations, reason for damping, different types of damping, namely the logarithmic damping and critical damping. Before we conclude this session, let us test our understanding by answering these questions. Differentiate between free and damped oscillations. Discuss the factors causing damping in oscillations. What is logarithmic damping? Explain critical damping. So, with this I conclude this lecture. See you in the other lectures with new concepts. Thank you for listening.